Guardian Spirit of Snæfellsnes, Chapter 1, A Legacy of Two Worlds. The icy reaches of Iceland, where jagged mountains pierced the sky and glaciers stretched like eternal guardians of the earth, held secrets both ancient and profound. It was in this land of extremes, beauty and danger, light and shadow, that Bárður Snæfellsás was born. His mother Hittis was a healer, renowned for her wisdom and her ability to commune with the land. His father Dumba was a chieftain among trolls, as mighty as the glaciers and as enduring as the rocks beneath them. Bárður embodied the union of two worlds. His mother's teachings instilled in him a love for life, a sense of justice, and an understanding of human frailty. From his father he inherited a formidable strength and an indomitable connection to the earth. Yet this duality marked him as an outsider. Among humans, his immense size and ethereal presence set him apart, while among trolls, his human blood was a source of distrust. From an early age, Bárður wrestled with the weight of expectation. His mother often spoke of a destiny that lay before him, of a role that would demand every ounce of his strength and wisdom. "The land has chosen you, my son," she would say as they walked the cliffs overlooking the roaring sea. "You are the bridge between the worlds and the protector of this sacred place." Bárður, young and headstrong, found these words burdensome. He longed for simplicity, for a life unbound by the invisible threads of fate. Yet even in his youth he felt the pull of something greater. The mountains spoke to him in whispers, the glaciers hummed a melody only he could hear, and the winds carried secrets meant only for his ears. The call of the glacier. The years passed, and Bárður grew into a figure of legend. His strength became unparalleled, and his wisdom, though hard-won, earned him the respect of both humans and trolls. He wielded a staff carved from the oldest birch tree in Iceland, a gift from his father's kin, imbued with a magic that resonated with the natural world. Yet, despite his growing renown, Bárður often felt the weight of solitude. One fateful evening, as the auroras wove a tapestry of light across the night sky, a messenger arrived at his home. It was an elder from a nearby village, his face etched with worry and fatigue. "Bárður," the elder said, his voice trembling, "we need your help. The glacier. It stirs with unrest. The fishermen speak of strange lights beneath the ice, and the livestock have begun to vanish. The people are frightened. They say the spirits of Snæfellsnes have turned against us." Bárdur's chest tightened. He had felt the glacier's unease for weeks, a dissonance in the harmony he had always known. "I will go," he said, his voice resolute. "The glacier calls to me, and I cannot ignore its cry." The elder nodded, relief washing over his face. "Thank you, Bárður. May the spirits guide your path." As he prepared for the journey, Bárdur's thoughts turned inward. He felt the weight of responsibility pressing against his chest. What if he failed? What if the glacier's unrest was a harbinger of something far greater than he could comprehend? He shook the thoughts away, focusing instead on the rhythm of his breathing and the steady hum of his staff as it rested in his hand. He would face whatever lay ahead with the strength of both his worlds. The trials of Snæfellsnes. The path to Snæfellsnes was treacherous, even for someone of Bárdur's might. Jagged cliffs and icy plains stretched before him, each step a test of his endurance and resolve. The winds howled like banshees, carrying with them the voices of the past. At times he thought he heard his mother's voice, urging him onward, reminding him of his purpose. The journey was not without its encounters. Along the way, he met the Huldufolk, the hidden people of Iceland. They emerged from the shadows of the lava fields, their eyes glinting with an otherworldly light. "Why do you tread this path, half-breed?" one of them asked, her voice sharp and probing. "Do you seek glory, or do you truly wish to protect the land?" Bárður met her gaze, his voice steady. "I seek only to fulfill my duty. The glacier is in pain. and I will not stand by while it suffers." The Hulderfolk studied him for a long moment before nodding. "Then go, Guardian. But remember, the glacier is both your ally and your test. It will reveal who you truly are." As he continued, the nights grew colder, the stars brighter, and the silence deeper. One night, as he rested beneath the auroras, a white wolf approached. Its eyes burned like embers, its presence both comforting and unnerving. "Bárður," the wolf said, its voice resonating like the echo of a great canyon. "You are nearing your trial. The glacier holds a darkness that mirrors your own. To conquer it, you must first face yourself. Are you ready?" Bárdur's heart raced, but he steadied his breath. "I am ready." The wolf nodded, disappearing into the shadows. Bárdur closed his eyes, the wolf's words echoing in his mind. He understood that his journey was as much about inner strength as it was about external power. The demon beneath the ice, Snæfellsjökull, loomed before him, a towering sentinel of ice and stone. The air crackled with an unnatural energy, and the ground beneath his feet seemed to tremble with anticipation. As he ventured deeper into the glacier's heart, the light dimmed, and a chilling silence enveloped him. At the core of the glacier he found it, Skuggi, the demon of shadow and fire, imprisoned for centuries, but now on the brink of escape. The cavern pulsed with heat and darkness, a stark contrast to the icy walls that surrounded it. "So, the half-breed comes to challenge me," Skuggi sneered, its voice a venomous hiss. "Do you truly believe you can contain my power?" Bárdur raised his staff, its light cutting through the shadows. "I am the guardian of this land. Your darkness has no place here." The battle that ensued was like nothing Bárdur had ever faced. Skuggi unleashed torrents of fire, each wave threatening to consume him. But Bárdur called upon the spirits of the glacier, the ice itself rising to meet the flames. The cavern became a theatre of light and shadow, each clash reverberating through the glacier. As the battle raged, Bárdur felt the strain on his body and spirit. Doubt crept into his mind, whispering of his inadequacy. But he remembered his mother's words, the wolf's warning, and the faith of those who had called upon him. Summoning every ounce of his strength, he drove his staff into the ground, channeling the glacier's power to seal Skuggi once more. The demon's roar echoed as it was pulled back into the depths, its fire extinguished by the unyielding ice. The cavern fell silent, the air heavy with victory and loss. The guardian spirit. Though victorious, Bárdur emerged forever changed. The glacier's energy had fused with his very being, his essence now inseparable from the land he had sworn to protect. His once dark hair had turned white as the snow itself, and his eyes now glowed faintly with the same ethereal light he had once seen in the auroras above. The immense power coursing through him made him feel at once invincible and deeply humbled. He returned to the villages one last time. As he walked through the town square, his towering frame casting long shadows in the afternoon sun, people gathered to see him. They could sense something had shifted within him. Children whispered in awe. Elders bowed their heads in gratitude, and the air was thick with reverence. Bárdur addressed them, his voice resonating like the wind through the canyons. "The glacier is safe, and the darkness has been sealed, but my path leads me elsewhere. I belong now to Snæfellsjökull, to its spirits and its power. I will guard this land for as long as it endures." The villagers pleaded for him to stay, their voices breaking with emotion. Yet deep down, they understood. Bárdur's destiny was far greater than their village. It was tied to the very essence of the land itself. They wept as he turned and began his final journey toward the glacier. High above the villages, at the foot of Snæfellsjökull, Bárður stopped and gazed back one last time. The wind carried the faint sound of a hymn sung by the villagers below. A warmth spread through him, filling the cracks left by the sacrifices he had made. He raised his staff, the light radiating from it like a beacon, and then stepped into the ice, a legacy of hope. Generations passed, yet the story of Bárður Snæfellsás only grew. Elders spoke of him as if they had seen him with their own eyes, weaving tales of his bravery and sacrifice into the fabric of their culture. He was no longer just a guardian. He was a legend, a symbol of hope and resilience. Travellers who ventured near Snæfellsnes often reported feeling an inexplicable sense of peace, as though an unseen presence watched over them. Some spoke of glimpsing a tall figure in the distance, cloaked in snow and shadow, his staff glowing faintly against the icy backdrop. Others claimed to hear whispers in the wind, words of encouragement and guidance when they were lost or afraid. The villagers of Snæfellsnes continued to honour Bárður with annual ceremonies. They gathered at the base of the glacier to leave offerings of carved wooden figures, flowers and food, believing that these gifts would keep his spirit strong. Songs were sung and stories were told, ensuring that even the youngest children knew of their protector. But Bárdur's legacy extended beyond the stories. His spirit inspired the people to live in harmony with the land, to respect its power and its beauty. Farmers worked their fields with care, fishermen treated the sea with reverence, and every step taken on the frozen ground was done with gratitude. Guardianship beyond time. The centuries rolled forward, and the world beyond Snæfellsnes evolved in ways unimaginable. Ships gave way to steamers, which gave way to airplanes, and the once isolated land of Iceland became connected to the wider world. Yet even as the modern age encroached, Bárdur's legacy remained steadfast. Tourists began to arrive, drawn by the allure of Snæfellsjökull and the tales of its mysterious guardian spirit. They climbed the glacier's icy ridges and marveled at the ethereal beauty of the land. Many claimed to feel a sense of peace, as though an unseen force watched over them. Some reported strange dreams after their visits, dreams of a tall figure cloaked in snow and light, his staff glowing like the first star of evening. Local guides, many descended from the villagers Bárður had once protected, spoke of him with reverence. They shared stories of his heroism and sacrifice, their words infused with pride and a sense of duty to preserve his memory. For these guides, Bárður was more than a legend. He was a protector who continued to watch over their homeland, a world that calls upon him. In times of crisis, when storms battered the coast or the earth quaked beneath the glacier's surface, the people of Snæfellsnes turned to Bárður. They climbed the glacier's icy trails, braving the elements to leave offerings at its base. Some carried small stones inscribed with prayers, others brought food or candles. Always they felt their prayers were heard. One winter, an unusually fierce blizzard swept through the peninsula, cutting off villages and threatening lives. The people huddled in their homes, their fires struggling against the biting cold. It was during this storm that many claimed to see a figure moving through the snow. Tall and luminous, his staff casting a warm light that pierced the howling winds. When the storm passed, villagers emerged to find their homes, untouched by the worst of the weather. Paths that had been buried under snow were mysteriously cleared, and the livestock that had wandered during the storm were found safely sheltered in barns. Whispers of Bárdur's intervention spread quickly, reaffirming the belief that he was always near. Eternal vigil. High within the glacier, Bárður remained vigilant. His form had become one with the ice, his spirit woven into its essence. He could feel the pulse of the land, the shift of tectonic plates beneath his feet, the breath of the wind as it swept across the plains. Time passed differently for him now. Seasons blurred into one another, and years felt like moments. Yet Bárður was not alone. The spirits of Snæfellsjökull, ancient and wise, surrounded him. Together, they maintained the balance of the land, ensuring that the glacier continued to provide life to the peninsula. Bárdur's connection to the human world endured, and he listened for their prayers, offering his guidance when it was needed most. Sometimes Bárður would reflect on his journey. He thought of his mother, Hildís, whose wisdom had set him on this path. He thought of the villagers, whose courage and resilience had inspired him to embrace his destiny. And he thought of the wolf, whose cryptic words had prepared him for the trials he would face. These memories gave him strength and reminded him of the bond between humanity and the natural world. Bárður knew that his guardianship was eternal, his purpose as enduring as the glacier itself. A new dawn, the sun rose over Snæfellsás, casting golden light across its icy expanse. Below, the villagers prepared for their annual festival, their voices lifted in song as they honored their guardian spirit. The air buzzed with life and hope, a testament to the harmony Bárður had worked so hard to preserve. As the celebrations continued, a young girl named Eira wandered away from the crowd, drawn by an inexplicable pull toward the glacier. She carried a small wooden carving of a wolf, a gift she had made for Bárður after hearing the stories of his journey. Eira climbed carefully, the snow crunching beneath her boots, until she reached a small hollow in the ice. Placing the carving gently on the ground, she whispered, "Thank you, Bárður, for protecting us." The wind stirred, carrying a soft, warm breeze that ruffled Eira's hair. She smiled, feeling a presence she could not see but knew was there. In her heart, she felt a quiet reassurance, a connection to something far greater than herself. Eira turned and made her way back to the village, the glow of the festival lights guiding her steps. Behind her, the glacier shimmered in the fading light, its guardian ever watchful, ever present. But as centuries stretched into millennia, the glacier's whispers began to change. Bárður could feel the deep pulse of the earth growing restless. The glacier, though ancient and steadfast, bore the weight of a warming world. The spirits of the ice grew quieter, their once vibrant hums now fraught with uncertainty. Bárður watched, powerless to halt the creeping changes. It was during one such moment of reflection that the wolf reappeared. Its fur gleamed silver beneath the auroras, and its eyes held the wisdom of countless ages. "Bárður," it said, its voice soft but commanding. "The time has come to pass your guardianship to the land itself. Your task is complete, and the balance you preserved will now depend on those who walk the earth below." "And what of the glacier?" Bárður asked, his voice heavy with sorrow. "It will endure, won't it?" The wolf nodded slowly. "It will endure, but not as you have known it. The ice will shift and recede, yet its spirit will remain. You must trust the people to carry your legacy forward. It is their turn to protect the land." Bárdur's form, long woven into the glacier's essence, began to dissipate. His spirit rose like mist from the ice, carried upward by the winds that had once whispered his destiny. As he ascended, he cast one final glance at the world he had protected for so long, the spirit of the land. In the years that followed, Snæfellsás remained a beacon of wonder and reverence. Though the glaciers continued to change, the people's bond with the land endured. The villagers still spoke of Bárður, not as a distant guardian, but as the spirit of the land itself, an eternal presence in every stone, wave, and breeze. On quiet nights, when the auroras danced across the sky, travelers and villagers alike would pause to watch. Many claimed to feel a gentle warmth, as though Bárdur's spirit brushed against their hearts, reminding them of their connection to the world around them. The legacy of Bárður Snæfellsás lived on, not in a single figure, but in the harmony he had fostered. His story became a testament to the enduring power of balance, courage, and unity, a reminder that even as the world changes, the spirit of protection and care will always find a home among those who cherish the earth. The glaciers whisper. High above the villages, Snæfellsjökull stood silent yet alive. The glacier, though altered, still carried the echoes of its guardian. On a still winter evening, a young boy climbed its slopes with a carved figure in his hand, a gift for the spirit he had heard about in stories. As he placed the figure on the icy ground, a soft wind rose, carrying with it a faint whisper. The boy smiled, sensing that Bárdur's spirit was not gone, but had become one with the land itself, forever watching, forever guiding. And so the tale of Bárður Snæfellsás came to its gentle close, a guardian no longer bound to a single form, but woven into the heart of Iceland, where his presence would endure for all time.
All right, so welcome to another deep dive, everybody. Today, we're heading to Iceland.
Iceland.
The land
Beautiful.
of fire and ice.
Yes.
To explore this awesome legend of Bárður Snæfellsás. We got some excerpts here from a chapter book about him, and
Fascinating stuff.
yeah, we're going to unpack it, see what makes him tick,
Yeah.
see why he matters, what his story can teach us about Icelandic folklore, and, the connection between humans and nature. All that good stuff.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. And what's so cool about Bárður is that he embodies this like duality right from the start.
Mm-hmm.
Born to a human mother, but a troll father.
Oh, wow.
He's this bridge between worlds.
Yeah.
But never fully belonging to either.
That's such a powerful image. Like, have you ever felt like you didn't totally fit in?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this story, it takes that feeling and, it just amplifies it to this like mythical scale.
It really does. And this internal conflict is like a driving force through his whole story. Constantly navigating these opposing forces.
Yeah.
Within himself, in the world around him.
Right. So that brings us to the whole catalyst for his journey.
Yeah.
So imagine just a lone traveler arrives with news of unrest in Snæfellsjökull.
Wow.
This massive glacier that like dominates the landscape, and the glacier spirits are stirring.
Oh.
Is this a threat? Is this a test? What's going on?
Tough to say.
How does Bárður react to this news?
Well, he feels this pull to act, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because Bárður has this deep connection to the land,
Yeah,
inherited from both sides of his family.
makes sense. Yeah.
And so he takes his staff, a gift from his trollkin,
Okay.
made from the oldest tree in Iceland, by the way,
Wow.
and sets off to confront the unknown.
Wow. I'm struck by the symbolism of that staff. Like, it's not just like a weapon,
Right.
It's almost like this umbilical cord
Yeah.
connecting him to the land itself, like the power of the land.
Yeah.
It makes me think about like how we draw strength from, our heritage.
That's it.
Even the parts that make us different,
Yeah. Really good point. And his journey to this glacier isn't a walk in the park.
Oh, I bet.
No, it's like a trial by fire, literally and figuratively.
Okay.
He encounters all these characters straight out of the Icelandic folklore. We're talking glacier spirits, hidden folk living in lava fields, even a mischievous elf trying to lead him astray.
Wow. So it sounds like a crash course in Icelandic mythology.
That's right.
But I'm guessing these encounters aren't just random.
You're right. There's a significance to him in the bigger picture.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. So then there's this vision of this great white wolf.
The white wolf. Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. That's not your everyday animal encounter.
Right.
What's the significance of the wolf in mythology?
So the white wolf, it's a powerful archetype, right?
Mhm.
It often represents guidance, wisdom, connection to like the wilder aspects of nature.
Right.
And in Bárður's case, this wolf, it acts as like a spirit guide.
Mm.
It urges him to embrace both sides,
Mhm.
human and troll, to face the challenges ahead.
So it's not just about like physical strength, but really like integrating all these different aspects of himself.
Exactly. You got it.
Okay.
And that's what he needs to do, because when he gets to Snæfellsjökull, the source material describes this demon.
Oh, a demon.
Yeah, of shadow and fire.
Wow.
imprisoned within the glacier but threatening to break free.
A demon of shadow and fire trapped in a glacier. That's some vivid imagery.
It is, right.
So what's interesting is that this demon doesn't just like attack Bárður physically.
Right.
It also like taunts him,
Yeah.
calls him a half-breed,
It's psychological.
preying on his deepest insecurity. So how does he overcome this like double threat?
This is where things get really epic.
Okay.
Bárður has to use all of his ingenuity and strength, his human side and his troll side.
Okay.
The source describes how he uses the ice itself
Oh, wow.
as a weapon,
What?
battling the demon. It would have been incredible to see.
Yeah.
It's like the glacier becomes an extension of his will, helping him defeat this, like, embodiment of darkness.
It's powerful, this image of him battling this demon of fire with the ice of the glacier.
It is.
So you'd think demon defeated Bárður would return to human society, and
Yeah.
hailed as a hero. But that's not what happens.
No, it isn't.
What happens?
He makes a choice.
A choice.
A big choice.
Okay.
Instead of going back to the human world, he merges with Snæfellsjökull.
Oh, wow.
He becomes its guardian spirit.
So it's a choice with huge implications, right?
Mm.
What do you think motivates this sacrifice?
Good question.
Is it duty, longing for belonging,
Yeah.
a way to finally reconcile those two sides of himself?
Maybe all of those things. Merging with the glacier, becoming one with the land. It's not unheard of in Icelandic and Nordic folklore.
Yeah.
These guardian spirits are a recurring thing,
Okay.
and they show us the deep respect these cultures have for nature. This idea that certain people are chosen to safeguard that balance between humans and the wild.
It's interesting, right?
I know.
Because in our modern world, humans often have this really exploitative relationship with nature.
True.
But Bárður's choice, it feels different.
It does.
Like he's not trying to dominate nature.
No.
He becomes part of it.
Exactly. Part of the ecosystem.
Ensures its well-being.
And maybe that's a different way of thinking about our place in the world. It's about interconnectedness
It is, yeah.
and, thinking about the consequences of our actions on the natural world,
Yeah, that's something I think about a lot these days.
of course.
All the environmental issues facing us, climate change.
Huge issues.
It feels overwhelming sometimes. Like
Yeah.
anything I do is just a drop in the ocean, But then I think about Bárður, his sacrifice,
Yeah.
his willingness to merge with this glacier to protect it.
It's powerful.
Does that story offer any guidance for us today?
I think so. I think it does. I mean, look, Barrera's story isn't about this superhuman power, right?
Right.
It's about recognizing that even small actions can make a difference.
That's good.
It's a journey, right? Like his journey made up of all these little steps and encounters.
Yeah.
Our path towards a sustainable future is also paved with these everyday choices.
So it's not about waiting for a superhero
Right.
to save us.
We all have a role to play.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Think about his staff. That staff made from that ancient tree.
Yeah.
It's symbolic.
Mm.
It represents a connection to the past
Right.
and a responsibility for the future.
It is good. Yeah.
And we can draw strength from our own heritage,
our values.
our connection to nature,
Exactly. Yeah.
as we make choices that impact the environment.
I love how you connect the staff to this idea of responsibility. It's like a reminder that we're not separate from nature.
That's it.
We're part of it.
We're all part of it.
And our actions, they have consequences. Yeah.
So what are some practical things that we can do?
Well, I think just like Bárður, right?
Mm.
He faced all these challenges.
Yeah.
So our path to a better future, it needs us to be adaptable.
Open to learning.
Yeah, willing to step outside our comfort zone.
Makes sense.
It's about embracing the complexities of things
Mm-hmm.
and realizing there's no easy answer.
So no one-size-fits-all solution.
Nope.
Okay.
We need to be open, willing to change our habits,
Yeah.
always learning, adapting.
That makes sense. So it's like personal growth and environmental action at the same time.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be some grand gesture either.
Yeah.
It's about making choices, reducing our carbon footprint,
Yeah.
supporting sustainable businesses,
Mhm.
advocating for policies that protect the environment.
That all makes sense.
Mhm.
It's about recognizing we're not alone in this. Just like those people, they revered Bárður,
They did.
kept his story alive.
Exactly.
We need that. We need that sense of shared responsibility.
That's for the planet.
So how do we cultivate that sense of community, that collective action?
Yeah, how do we do that?
Well, you can support those environmental groups.
Yeah.
Get involved locally.
Okay.
Educate yourself, educate others about these issues.
Mm-hmm.
It's about becoming modern day guardians
Guardians of the planet.
of the planet, recognizing the power of collective action.
It's inspiring, right, to think we could all tap into that.
Yeah.
That bravery spirit
Become protectors.
of our own Snæfellsás.
Exactly.
Whether it's a local park, a watershed, even our own backyard.
Yeah.
But his story isn't just about like environmental action, right?
Yeah, right.
It's also about belief, the power of stories,
Yeah.
how those stories shape how we see the world.
So true. Those people in Snæfellsnes,
Mm-hmm.
they believed in Bárður's protective powers.
Yeah.
And they revered him long after he became part of that glacier.
So these stories, they inspire hope.
They do.
They instill values.
Mhm.
They connect us to something bigger than ourselves.
Absolutely.
I find that really moving,
It's powerful stuff.
It suggests that these stories can be this source of resilience,
Yeah.
especially when things are tough.
Right. Like Bárður's story shows us that even when things are hard, we can draw strength from our beliefs,
From community
our
to...
connection to nature.
It's a good reminder that hope and imagination, those are tools that we can use to navigate all the complexities.
It's amazing. One of the beautiful things about folklore, mythology, is that these stories, passed down through generations,
Yeah.
they still offer guidance and inspiration, even in our modern world.
It's remarkable, right? Like how Bárður's tale manages to weave together environmentalism,
It does.
self-discovery, the
Mhm.
power of belief,
It's all there.
all in one.
Absolutely. It shows that these ancient narratives are still relevant today.
Yeah.
They speak to us on so many levels. They offer this timeless wisdom. We can use that wisdom to guide us.
To navigate these challenges of the 21st century.
Exactly.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
This deep dive into the many layers of Bárður Snæfellsás. Before we wrap up, though, I want to hear from you, our listeners.
Always love hearing from the listeners.
What insights stood out to you? What questions did this exploration spark for you?
Let's hear it.
Because we'll be tackling those very thoughts and queries in the final part of our deep dive.
Can't wait. Welcome back to our deep dive into this legend of Bárður Snæfellsás. We've seen how his journey was all about reconciling his dual nature. But now let's explore the impact of him becoming, Snæfellsjökull's guardian spirit.
Yeah, it's a choice that raises all these questions about sacrifice,
Yeah.
and guardianship.
Mhm.
So by merging with the glacier, Bárður becomes this protector, but at the cost of his human life.
Right.
So what other examples of guardian spirits are there in Icelandic folklore, and what does their prevalence tell us about Icelandic culture?
Well, guardian spirits are woven into the very fabric of Icelandic and Nordic folklore.
Okay.
The holy folk, the hidden people.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah, they dwell in rocks and hills,
Mhm.
and they often act as protectors of specific places.
Okay.
And then there's the landvættir.
The landvættir.
Yeah, these spirits that embody the land itself, safeguarding all its natural features.
So these beliefs, they really highlight this deep reverence for nature
They do.
and this sense of responsibility towards preserving it.
Exactly.
It's a fascinating contrast, right,
Yeah.
to how humans often exploit nature in our modern world.
Sadly.
So Bárður's choice, it feels like it represents this more symbiotic relationship.
It does, yeah.
Instead of dominating or exploiting, he becomes part of the ecosystem, ensuring its well-being.
Precisely. And it suggests a different way of thinking about our place in the world.
Yeah.
It's about being interconnected, recognizing that our actions, they have consequences.
They ripple through the natural world.
Exactly.
It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the scale of everything, right?
Sure.
Like climate change, pollution.
Big stuff.
It can feel like whatever I do is just a drop in the ocean.
I hear you.
But then I remember Bárður, his sacrifice,
Yeah.
merging with the glacier to protect it.
Powerful imagery.
So does his story, does it offer any guidance for us today as we deal with all these challenges?
I think it does, because Bárður's story isn't about some grand power.
Right.
Right.
It's not about being Superman.
It's about recognizing that small actions matter.
Okay. Yeah.
Just like his journey, step by step, encounter by encounter. Our journey towards sustainability is also about those everyday choices.
So it's not about waiting for someone else to save us.
Nope.
It's
Yeah.
about realizing that we all have a role to play.
Exactly. You got it.
That makes sense.
Think about his staff again.
Okay. Yeah. The staff.
Crafted from that oldest tree.
Mm-hmm.
It symbolizes that connection to the past, that responsibility for the future. And we can draw strength from our own heritage, our values, our connection to nature.
As we make choices that impact the environment.
Absolutely.
I love how you bring it back to the staff, this idea of responsibility.
Yeah.
It's like we're not separate.
We're all part of it.
We're part of this larger ecosystem.
We are.
And our actions have consequences.
They do.
So what are some practical things we can do, like in our everyday lives, to embody that borrower spirit, you know?
I think, well, like Bárður faced all these challenges, right?
Yeah, he did.
Our path to a better future, it needs us to be flexible, open to learning, willing to try new things, get out of our comfort zone a little bit,
Makes sense, yeah.
embrace the complexity of the problems, realize there's not one single solution that's going to work for everything.
Okay, so no one-size-fits-all solution.
Nope.
So being open to new ideas, willing to change our habits, constantly learning, adapting.
That's it. And it's not about doing something huge,
Okay.
It's about being mindful in our daily lives. Little things. Reduce our carbon footprint. Support those businesses that are doing things sustainably. Advocate for policies that are protecting the environment. All of that.
Yeah, that all makes sense. It's about recognizing that we're not alone, right? Just like the people, they revered Bárður.
They did.
They kept his story alive for generations. We need that, right? That sense of shared responsibility.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's crucial. We have to work together.
For the planet. So how do we do that? How do we cultivate that community, that feeling of collective action?
Well, supporting those environmental organizations is a good start. Get involved in local initiatives. Educate ourselves and each other about the problems.
Okay, yeah.
Become those modern-day guardians.
Guardians of the planet.
Exactly. We need to recognize the power of collective action. Even small contributions add up.
It's inspiring, right?
Yeah.
Thinking about tapping into that Bárður spirit, like you said.
Yeah.
Becoming protectors.
That's it.
Of our own Snæfellsjökull.
Whether it's a park, a watershed, your own backyard.
Yeah. It's all connected. But his story isn't just about environmental action, right?
Oh, you're right.
It also touches on the power of what people believe in.
Absolutely.
And the role of stories, how they shape our relationship with the world around us.
That's so true. I mean, think about those people in Snæfellsnes.
Yeah.
They truly believed in Bárður's power to protect.
Yeah.
And they continued to revere him long after he merged with that glacier.
It speaks volumes, right, about how powerful stories are.
They really are. They inspire hope. They teach us values. They connect us to something bigger than ourselves.
I find that really moving,
It is. It's powerful stuff. It's like these stories can be a source of resilience, especially during hard times.
Exactly, because Bárður's story, it reminds us that even when things are tough, we can draw strength from our beliefs, from community, from our connection to nature.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that hope and imagination are essential. We need them to navigate all the complexity of the world around us.
Yeah, and isn't that one of the beautiful things about these old folktales, these myths?
It is.
That they still have something to teach us.
Yeah.
They still offer us guidance and inspiration, even in the modern world.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it. And, the way Bárður's tale weaves together environmentalism, self-discovery, and the power of belief.
It's all connected.
It shows just how relevant these ancient narratives still are.
Yeah.
They resonate with us on so many levels. They offer this timeless wisdom.
Wisdom we can use to face the challenges of the 21st century.
Exactly. Well, we've covered a lot of ground.
A lot of ground.
Exploring all these layers of Bárður Snæfellsás's legend. But before we wrap it up, I want to hear from you, our listeners.
Yeah, let's hear what you have to say.
What stood out to you? What questions came up for you during our exploration?
We're all ears, because we'll be tackling those thoughts and questions in the final part of our deep dive. Welcome back to the deep dive, everybody. We've been exploring this legend of Bárður Snæfellsás, and we've talked about his heroic journey, his sacrifice, the legacy he left behind. But now it's time to hear from you, our listeners.
I always love hearing from the listeners.
You guys sent in some awesome questions,
Yeah.
so we're super excited to dive right in.
Let's get to it.
Okay, so our first question comes from Sarah, and she asks, if Bárður's so powerful, why didn't he just destroy the demon instead of trapping it in the glacier?
That's a really good question, Sarah. And it touches on something you see a lot in mythology. It's like just destroying something isn't always the answer.
Right.
You got to remember, Bárður is all about balance.
Mhm.
He's this bridge between worlds, right?
Yeah.
A mediator.
Mm-hmm.
So by trapping the demon in the glacier, he's containing the threat, but he's not like wiping it out completely.
So it's like he's saying that darkness is a part of the natural order.
Yeah.
It just needs to be controlled.
Exactly. It's a much more nuanced approach, right?
Right.
Than just going for the total win.
There's a real wisdom in that, like recognizing that the world is full of complexities and contradictions.
Yeah.
And his actions, they show that he understands this balance.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's like a reminder that true strength sometimes lies in finding a way to coexist with those tough things, rather than just trying to get rid of them altogether.
Yeah, that's a good point. No.
Okay, our next question comes from David, and he's wondering, if Bárður merged with the glacier, does that mean he's still, like, conscious? Does he experience time the same way we do? That's a tough one.
Yeah, those are some deep questions, David.
Yeah.
They make you think about, like, the very nature of consciousness, what it means to exist.
Yeah.
But to be honest, the source material we have doesn't really give us any solid answers on that.
But that's part of what makes these myths so captivating, right?
Yeah.
They make us think about those big questions,
Yeah.
the mysteries that we might just never fully understand.
And sometimes just embracing that unknown
Mm-hmm.
is just as good as finding an answer.
Yeah, I agree with that. So, David, while we can't say for sure what Bárður's experience is inside that glacier, we can use our imaginations.
By the run wild.
Does he perceive time as like this slow, glacial flow?
Right.
Or is it this timeless existence beyond what we can even grasp? It's really up to each of us to explore those possibilities.
It really is. It's an invitation to push the boundaries of how we see things and appreciate the mysteries that are just a part of life.
Okay, we have time for one last question here. This one's from Maria.
Okay, Maria.
And she asks, do you think there are modern-day Bárðurs out there, people who are working really hard to protect our planet?
Oh, I absolutely believe there are. Tons of them.
Right.
I mean, think about the scientists, the activists, the indigenous communities, those everyday folks who dedicate their lives to protecting our environment. They might not have magic staffs or battle demons,
Right.
but their dedication to protecting our planet is totally heroic.
They're the ones fighting for clean air and water, right?
Yeah. Protecting those endangered species, raising awareness about climate change, and pushing for policies that actually protect our planet.
Absolutely. They've taken on that role of guardian, carrying on the torch that figures like Bárður lit centuries ago.
And their work is so important.
It's vital.
It really is.
Right.
Just like Bárður safeguarded Snæfellsnes,
Mm-hmm.
these folks are protecting our planet for the generations to come. They remind us that each of us can be a guardian,
Yes.
a protector of this shared home that we have.
And that's a powerful thought to leave with everyone today. So, Maria, yes, there are those modern-day Bárðurs all around us. They inspire us with their courage and their dedication, their belief that we can make things better.
And by supporting their work, making conscious choices in our own lives, and having a deep respect for nature, we can all contribute to that legacy of guardianship.
Absolutely. We all have a role to play.
So that wraps up our deep dive into the legend of Bárður Snæfellsás.
It's been a journey. We've traveled through these amazing landscapes, explored epic battles, and really dug deep into Icelandic folklore.
We've covered a lot of ground.
But more importantly, I think we've uncovered these timeless lessons that are woven into this ancient tale.
It's a good reminder that those old stories, they hold wisdom that goes beyond time and place.
Yeah, they make us think about our place in the world, our relationship with nature, and the choices that we make every single day.
And as you go about your day, remember Bárður Snæfellsás.
Embrace those things that make you unique.
Stand up for what you believe in.
And never underestimate the impact of even the smallest act of kindness or courage.
Well said.
Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.